Welcome to the boat Hairspring everybody, Ivan here, and today's review is of a watch that is very special to me, as it's the one that I wore when I kneeled in front of my girlfriend at the time and asked her to marry me. So every time I put it on my wrist it reminds me of that moment, and for that reason alone it will never leave my collection. It often gets mistaken with an Orient Bambino, but it isn't. This is an Orient Envoy, and it's an affordable dressy open heart watch, which also has some vintage look to it, so let's check it out. I've had this watch for nearly 3 years now and I wear it at least once a week, which is quite a lot to be honest, as I have close to 30 watches right now. I bought it from eBay from a Japanese seller and the total price was about €150 with shipping to Spain included. Unfortunately guys, the price seems to have gone up a little bit and it also looks like this white dial isn't so widely available as it was back then. But depending on where you are located, I suggest you check Amazon, eBay, Long Island Watches or Creation Watches, and if you can't find this exact model, consider some of the other colors available, as there are quite a few. When it comes to the dial color, there are 3 colors to choose from: black, white and blue, and these are found in either stainless steel, yellow or rose gold plated cases. Then they all come on alligator leather straps, which are comfortable, but the glossy finish makes them look a bit cheap, and that's why I've replaced mine with this cheap mesh bracelet, which I'm not entirely happy with, but it's okay for the time being. I'm thinking about getting some sort of light blue leather strap, as I think it will add some nice contrast to the dial, and it will also go well with the blue hands. Perhaps you guys can give me some recommendations in the comment section down below. Let's continue with the dimensions, and by now you must have probably noticed that this Orient is not a small watch, and that's probably the main reason why it's not very popular. The case diameter is 43mm, but it doesn't look out of place on smaller wrists like mine, as you'll see in a moment. The thickness is just 11.5mm and the lug-to-lug distance is 50mm, while the spacing between the lugs is standard 22mm. As always, here it is on my 17cm or 6.7-inch wrist. And yes, I agree with those of you who might think that its appearance is a bit too large for a dress watch, but in my opinion it looks nice nonetheless, and thanks to its slightly curved lugs, it sits very comfortable on the wrist. It would also easily fit under the cuff of a shirt, so that's good enough for me. When it comes to the fit and finish of the watch, there isn't much to talk about. The whole case is polished, even the case back, but you know guys, it doesn't look bad at all, as the polished surface isn't really in your face. I mean, when you look at it from the front, it's all dial, then the case is slim and the mineral crystal sticks out quite a bit, so no problem from the sides either. The quality of the polishing is not so good though. It's not terrible, but I have my wife's Cadison from AliExpress here, which is significantly cheaper, and its finish in comparison to the Orient is more mirror-like and overall just a little bit better. The dial on the other hand tells a completely different story, as it's exceptionally well made for the money. It's white, but it has this metallic sheen to it. It also shows a strong sunburst effect when hit by strong light directly. Nothing is applied, but the hour markers, the text and the Orient logo look very sharp. And just look at the blue Breguet style hands. Breguet style hands. And if there are any of you guys who are French or fluent in French, please assess my French pronunciation from 1 to 10 in the comments below. Anyways, the hands are absolutely amazing. They're one of the main reasons why I went for this white dial reference. I'm not sure what material they are made of, but they kind of look as if they're made of glass, which is pretty cool, and together with the Roman numerals give the watch that vintage appearance that I mentioned earlier. Then the next thing that really catches one's attention is the so-called open heart dial design. So there is this circular cutout on the dial that allows you to see not only the balance wheel but also the escapement. Non-watch people were actually pretty impressed by it, and for that reason it's one of my most complimented watches. In fact, I've used this watch a number of times to explain the intricacies of mechanical movement to people who know absolutely nothing in that regard. On the contrary, some watch people would say that open heart watches simply try to look like a tourbillon, when they obviously aren't, therefore they look cheap. Personally, I don't mind them, as long as I'm pleased with the overall look of the watch. Moving on, let's turn the watch around and talk about the movement. Inside of the Orient Envoy sits the automatic in-house caliber F6T22, which has 22 joules. It hacks, it hand winds, and it beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour. The movement can be seen through a mineral crystal display case back, but it's not decorated nor particularly attractive to look at, but it's a decent movement. Orient claims an accuracy of -15 to +25 seconds per day, but in real life scenarios it usually performs better than that. For instance, mine's been consistently running 10 seconds fast, which for a watch in this price range is more than acceptable, as is the 40 hours power reserve. Setting the time is very simple, as the onion style crown is easy to access, and what impresses me here is its action. It feels very sturdy and there is zero play, but the hand winding is a bit noisy and it feels a bit gritty, which is actually quite typical for Orient movements. The same goes for the rotor, so if this is your first Orient, then don't worry because it's normal. Next, let's talk about the negatives. There aren't many, but if I have to be nitpicky, I could only wish that the finishing was a bit better, and that's all. Obviously, a sapphire crystal would have been nice, and some people would have preferred if the case diameter was 2-3mm smaller, but in my opinion this is a great watch as it is. Plus, if you're looking for something more compact, then you can always check the Bambino lineup. And you know guys, I have a lot of respect for Orient as a brand. I think they offer a tremendous amount of value in the €300 price range. The Kamasu, which I also own, is probably the best example of that. I have a review of it on the channel, so have a look if you haven't seen it. It's really an amazing watch that can be found for as little as €200 brand new. Definitely check it out if you are on the market for an affordable dive watch with a sapphire crystal and overall great specs. By the way, looking at these two side by side, I think they make a nice to-watch collection which doesn't break the bank, which brings me to my next point. And that is, I really hope that Orient continues to produce fantastic watches at affordable prices and doesn't start raising them like Seiko's been doing lately. I think I've said it before, but when it comes to value, Orient has become the new Seiko. No doubts about it. But how about you guys? Do you own any Orient watches? Which ones? And what's been your experience with them so far? At some point I would like to check the Orient Triton. I've never seen one in person, but I've heard only good things about it. And I'm afraid that's the end of this video guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, a sub to the channel would be very much appreciated. Also, if you want to see some photos of the watches I review, check out my recently created Instagram account. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching everyone, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.